Welcome to Bass U Live, everybody. Great to have you with us. Been seeing guys on the chat board. Good morning, everybody. Really cool show. Excited about this. Kyle Patrick's going to be with us in just a minute. He's one of the elite, or one of the rookies on the Elite Tour, one of the 9 guys, and they just tore it up. It was amazing to see how well they all did on Toledo Bend. And he's taking a minute out of his practice. He's out on Lake Fork right now, and he's going to come and talk to us. So really excited, appreciate him being here to do that. Like always, like and share the feed on social. We got a prize for you. Pay attention. We're going to be giving away a grand prize at the end. We have some TH Marine products and a variety of other things that we're going to be giving away, including probably some Crush Cities. Won another Derby, the top selling lure in the world right now. Jacob Wheeler wins again on Santee Cooper with the freeloader. So we got some cool stuff to give away. We're gonna have some fun. So Guy, Rich, Justin, where are you guys at?
We are down on the banks of Lake Fork right now, so it's actually going to be Tackle Direct remote studios today for the live show. We're down here on the banks of Lake Fork at the Fisherman's Cove Resort, and we're excited to see another Bassmaster Elite Series event unfold. It's shaping up like it should be a good one.
Lake Fork doesn't disappoint. This is your first trip to Lake Fork, isn't it, Justin?
Yeah, it is. Pretty cool lake. A lot of standing timber. Gets me excited to fish, but seems like I'm going to be watching guys catch big fish instead, but that's all right.
I have a feeling your travel rod will find its way to the bank from time to time.
Yeah, you know it.
It's one of the storied fisheries on the planet. Put out more share lunkers than anyone. By the way, I got to send you. I'm going to see if I can do it on their commercial break. Another share lunker was caught at a Toledo Bend.
Oh, no kidding.
Just last night. And I got an image of that, so I'll make sure I get that to you guys. They just keep jacking those 13-pounders, but hey, we know Kyle's practicing, so we want to get him in on the show and let him get back to work. And so let's go ahead and bring him in, Rich. And guys, you know Kyle Patrick. He's the guy responsible for throwing a wrench at me on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you doing, man? You had a great week last week.
Yeah, no, I think everyone caught him really, really well. It was cool to see a bunch of the rookies did really well, and it was an awesome week and a great way to start my Elite Series career.
Man, I'm telling you, you can't start. I mean, you could start better, right? You could have made the cut.
Right.
But you made the first cut. You just didn't. You missed the second cut. But that's just a phenomenal deal. Did you feel nerves? Did you feel pressure coming into the tournament?
Oh yeah, tons, man. I got to my first spot on day one. Running through the blast off with Dave Mercer, the whole thing so surreal to me still. So, going 70 down the lake. I'm just like, oh my gosh, man, I'm about to start fishing in my first Elite Series event. And I pulled in, dude, I had the shakes bad. and then I caught my first fish and just settled in, and it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat.
That's awesome. It's a thrill of a lifetime, man. You earned it.
Yeah.
You really went through a tough gauntlet to get there.
Yep.
And you started out your practice where how did that go, man? Like, were the nerves? I guess the nerves might have been getting you there too. I mean, did you have a good practice, a bad practice? How did that go?
Yeah, so the way everyone was catching, a lot of the guys were catching them. It's not conducive to a practice like that makes you feel, excited about going out in the tournament and fishing, because they were so spread out. Like, there were a lot of big ones, roaming and cruising throughout the timber and, funneling into some coves like where Kiyoya caught them. But aside from a few select areas, they were roaming everywhere. And there were big ones, right? Like 4, 5, 6, clearly 8 and 9 pounders. But they are so scattered that practice it gets a little confusing because you'll be on your trolling motor looking on forward facing sonar and you'll catch one like 5-pounder, right? And then you'll go 500 yards without another bite, just cruising without another bite. So that kind of got to me in practice a little bit. I'm like, man, it's just scary because you're throwing light line in timber, big bass on a little hook, right? So I was like, I just don't know if I can do this in the tournament and feel like I can be successful. But then I went to the bank for 2 days straight, and I did not see much. I found one little area, which later in the tournament I ended up catching 2 4.5s on a speed worm. It was awesome. But I mean, there was very little on the bank to be had from my experience, and I think it showed.
Yeah, it sure did. You saw guys like they had the cameras on who do they have? Hackney and who was the other camera
Hackney. Guy? They had Hackney, Christie.
Yep. Hackney and Christie, and they were just on a struggle bus. Like it was small fish after small fish. So, and I think the world watching was like really disappointed. They wanted to see them jack the big ones,
Yeah,
it's interesting as it pertains to the shallow fishing because with the advent of live scope and so many more guys fishing off the bank now, it begs me to wonder, like, what would the results of this tournament look like if it was flip-flopped and like 60% or 70% of the field had gone to the bank and looked like? What's your feel on that, Kyle? Like, do you think like more stuff would have been found? It was simply just because such a small percentage of guys went to look up shallow, or was it really just what was going on the lake?
I think it was a mix of both. But to your point, like I do think that the weights would have been. I think if there was no forward facing sonar, right? None, like no one can have it. I bet you that tournament would take maybe 20 pounds a day to win, maybe. And then, to make the cut, what was it to make the cut? Like 16.5, maybe 17?
Yeah.
I think to make the cut, to make the cut, it would have probably been like 13.5, 14 maybe. There's just no but to answer your question, I think it's what went on in that during, like, what was going on Toledo Bend at that specific time was not conducive to having the guys really catch them on the bank. I truly think they were super scattered. It's like that pre-spawn funk. Like the pre-spawn funk where fish are cruising, right? I saw a couple on the bank, and you would make any movement, any cast, any splash of the water, and they were gone, right? So you have that going on the bank, especially in practice. And then, when you're offshore, it's not like they were big schools grouped up on like the Indian Mounds area or any of those obvious, places where like KVD one where you could, wind a crankbait. That was not happening. So they were just roaming, and the easiest way to catch those is live scope, because you can't effectively catch roaming largemouth without forward facing sonar, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, right? So I think the weights would have been really bad.
Yeah, it's sure. I agree with you, especially after watching the super champions get up in the banks and just struggle mightily. But when you saw, one of the things that I was curious about watching this tournament is, man, like all the guys like in the top 20 or 30 were all wadded up in that one arm. And what do you think? Do you have an idea of what was causing, like, because there just seemed to be a better average size fish munching on the bait in that arm than anywhere else in the lake?
Yeah. So Housen and 6 Mile were the two areas, the two big creeks where everything got, all the big bags came from, pretty much.
Yeah.
The reason they're so good is because you have a big creek channel running down Toledo Bend, the middle of the lake. And those two creeks Housen has a creek channel, and 6 Mile has a creek channel. And those connect perfectly with the main creek channel in Toledo Bend. So they use it. It's just an easy highway to get into those flats. Because 6 Mile and Hausen both have really expansive flats with timber, really good spawning pockets that those flats are leading to. So they have like that, that minor creek channel, the Hausen Creek channel, the 6 Mile Creek channel running through. And then off of that creek channel, there's, nice spawning pockets and flats for them to just kind of ease up into for a pre-spawn deal. And of course, to get onto the bed. And that's where the majority of the fish, a large population of the fish are going, is to get ready to spawn or to spawn. And it's just, we were just intercepting them. I mean, like I could watch each day fish were swimming in. Like if you zoom in, I'll show you where I started. Each day I started, basically, if you scroll into Hausen there, that big one.
That's the one.
The top one there.
The top one. Yep.
I started almost at, so go out a little bit more.
More Main Lake.
Oh, yeah. Keep going out.
Okay.
So I started, if you put your mouse on it, like right there, a little bit further out.
Wow.
Right there. And right there. You got it. And then I would just follow all the way through and just look for roaming fish. And then you run into an area that had them. You caught maybe one or two every, in a 500-yard stretch. You caught one, and then you went 250 yards and you caught another. And then I would get through and I'd get to a point where I felt like I could recycle, and I would drive back out and start at the mouth. And it's amazing how many fish you would see that pulled up to the area. They were swimming in from the depths of Toledo Bend out in the middle. They were swimming in, and you could watch them swim like into Hausen.
That's amazing. It's like, because I'm as old as dirt, and we would always theorize that. You know what I mean? Like, where are these fish coming from? Like, they got to be, 90% of the fish got to be offshore, but we could never target them. It was, like finding a needle in the haystack kind of thing. And now you guys are showing it, man. It's like they live in the abyss most of the time. It's
crazy, man. And what was so unique about Kiyoya's spot was everyone knows where he was. I mean, it's a community hole technically, because it's at the mouth of that what is it, that bayou there, wherever. There's a big pocket, and then at the entrance of the pocket there's a bunch of grass over to the left with some ditches, right? He was intercepting the biggest fish in that lake or in that area were staging right there in like maybe a quarter-mile long area. And he was just doing the same thing everyone else was. Of course, he's unbelievable with his forward-facing sonar and the baits that he chooses and everything, but he could just stay there and circle, and fish were pulling up to him way faster than the fish were pulling up to everyone else. That's, in my opinion, that's why he was so successful, because the fish were coming in quicker than
We got you back. All right, we lost you. You probably got a call, Kyle. That's usually what happens when we lose signal. I could see he's scrambling to do it. We'll let him figure that out. But that's interesting, man. What an interesting concept that the fish were coming quicker to him, and I get that. But
hey, guys, I can't hear you.
How about now, Kyle?
There you go. You got it.
It happens.
Now.
We do this all the time, Kyle. You probably got a call, right?
Pete, you there? Oh, there you are. Yeah. I got you now. Sorry.
Okay. Yep. What? Well, so the genius of Koyo was him identifying that area, right? That they were coming.
Hear you, Pete. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So we seem to have dropped Pete's audio there. Pete's going to sign back out and come back in.
Okay.
Oh, looks like we got him back already. That was quick. Are you back, Pete?
I can hear you.
Yep, I got you.
Okay. My question was, so the genius of Koyo was identifying the area where those fish were coming in. Somehow he figured out that this is where the big ones are going to filter in first.
Yeah. Yep. I think to be honest, I think that the live train.
We lost your audio again.
We've lost you, Kyle.
You need to go back out and come back in.
Yeah, I want to ask him. I got to ask him some more questions about what went down, but that's fascinating to find out. And I get that, that's the brilliance of Koyo is great. He's great. He's a great angler that can catch them as good as anybody with that technology. But the thing that separates everybody is you got to get yourself in the right area.
Right.
And how is he able to so consistently get himself in the right area and score the big ones, Yeah,
exactly. So it actually, based on what Kyle was saying and watching the live coverage, it looks like from where Koyo was fishing was just a little bit further north of Howden Bay. That's what I'm guessing, but I'll wait for Kyle to confirm that.
Yeah, say it again.
So was Koyo fishing just further north of Howden Bay than everybody else?
No. If you pull up the map, he was fishing in Howden.
Mm-hmm.
To the right, there's a creek. The first creek on the right, he was out in that zone where the fish were staging. If you pull it up, there were a lot of guys there. I mean, it's not like I'm giving away a secret here. I mean, this is a very known area. See, scroll in on that big creek in Howden. See it on the right as you enter Howden.
I remember him and a bunch of other guys.
Yep. So you keep scrolling in right there. He was. Yep. Now go back out towards the middle a little bit.
Ooh. My laptop just dropped.
That's okay. He was outside of that, that creek in Howden, just outside of it, kind of just roaming around. So if you saw that little bit of grass, that clump of grass on the outside, on the left side, he was basically outside of that and sort of in the middle of where that creek meets Howden.
Right. And
it's hard to explain without seeing it, but you know.
Yeah, the $100,000 question is Pete. How does he know to start there, right? And that's what you were saying, Pete. That's what separates. Like, well, you can know how to use a live scope, but you still got to know where to put that live scope to work to find that biggest group of fish.
Yeah, I mean, and to piggyback off that, there's a lot of anger and hostility towards live scope. And I think that a lot of it is based on, not understanding, like, why. I think it's a lack of understanding, right? Like, people don't realize how hard it is to catch them on live scope. It's not, yes, we are catching fish that before did not factor in, right? And that bothers people because the 20, 30 years of experience guys have had is don't mess with those fish. Don't even bother. It's just opened up a bigger playing field. If anything, people should be happier because the lakes have become to get, the lakes have opened up. There's way more fishable area now in these lakes than there ever was, right? Because right, like you look at Toledo Bend, and if we had a tournament, Toledo Bend would have shrunk by probably 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Live scope was not on our boats, and Fork would be the same. So there's a lot of positives to live scope, and I understand there are negatives, but you have to look at it. You have to look at the whole pie. People are just taking one slice of pizza when it's a whole dang pie.
Yep. I love that. I that's a great perspective. And that 90% of the lake that we ignored and wrote off is now fishable, and you can spread out. You're not bumping into everybody all the time. There's a lot of great stuff there. Great question here from Rich Hunt, because we saw this go down, and he wants to know how, because some of these fish are hard to catch, right? It's not that easy, right? So what's your strategy on once you see a blob that you're like, oh, I want to get this one in my live well? How committed are you to that fish before you move on?
I'm pretty committed. What's funny is for every 5 bass I saw, I only caught 1 or 2. If I presented it perfectly. They're very tricky to catch. Sometimes they're not. But in that particular tournament, I could have, based on the fish that I saw, threw at and chased my bait, I probably could have 25 pounds a day, if not more. Right? The key is, especially with a Damiki, is you can manipulate that bait really well, especially with like the 1/8 ounce heads and like the lighter heads. It's similar to a Senko, right? The Senko is so effective because when it falls, it's shimmying, and you throw it on top of the fish, and he has to feed up. He has to look up, and he feeds up and eats it, right? It's the same with the Damiki. It's just way more. It's mimicking a bait fish really well. The Damiki, what I do is I throw it out, and it's okay to throw it past them. That gives you more of an error. You don't want to necessarily throw it right on top of their head. Sometimes it works, but I like to throw it past them. That just in case I'm a little bit off, throwing it past them is okay. And then I shake it, and if this is the blob, and say my fingernail is the fish's head here, my Damiki's falling, and I start working it behind him, and he doesn't even see it. And then I'm here, and then I'm here, and then I'm here, and once I get right in front of his head, I'm shaking it away, and it's a reaction bite a lot of the time, right? Mm-hmm. So you're able to shake it, and he can't see it. And then, boom, he can see it, and he eats it right away. Instead of he's watching it fall in front of him, and then, he may or may not eat it, but the percentage of times that, they're going to eat it when you're working from behind them is higher than, you throw it in front of them, and they come down and eat it as you're shaking it away.
I got you. That's it. That's interesting. I saw a lot of guys battling, and it's hard. I know. I mean, it's so hard to get that cast right.
Right.
That's half the battle of this thing. But let's talk about baits a little bit. What's on your rig? We just saw the freeloader win on the MLF again, and what's on your Damiki?
So I switch heads. I really like the greenfish tackle, bad little shad. I throw a mix of baits, right? Like I do really like the skunk shad. I think it's a really, really good bait.
Yep.
For a Damiki. I will throw, the Z-Man Senna jerk shad. I'll throw the Sakamata shad. But, I mean, this isn't the one I was throwing, but I threw this in white.
Every time you get a notification, it seems like you drop your audio. Try going back out and coming back in one more time.
Yeah, this is, of course, we saw the spunk shad, the missile baits when we filmed with Schmitty, but this is a close-up look at the freeloader, And if you guys have never, these are pretty much sold out everywhere, but you can see it's got this little bulbous tail, and it's amazing what happens when this bait moves even a little bit. You get this crazy persistent vibration from these types of baits.
Sorry guys, I keep getting phone calls and
Yep.
it blows out the thing. But yeah, that's exactly you hit the nail on the head. Like it's the same with this this bait. It has such a here we go. It has such a slim tail that you really don't even need to shake it that much. I mean, look what the wind's doing to it alone.
Yep.
That's all just wind. So imagine the water, what it does to this when you shake it and it's perfectly vertical. This is a really, really good bait, the Spunk Shad. I also use it as a chatterbait trailer too. I think it's a really good chatterbait trailer. I've actually got it on right now. I was throwing it with the black and blue chatter here.
There you go.
So it's a pretty unique bait. And I think another thing to factor in when you're throwing it to Mickey is and that's why the scented jerk shad's so good, is its buoyancy. Because you really need that bait. The key with Toledo, those fish, was you kind of had to keep it. You almost sometimes have to dead stick it above their head. And it's hard because you have an 1/8 ounce weight, but that plastic offsets it. And the wind and the line, the drag that the line creates in the water, it offsets that bait. So you can actually kind of dead stick it if you feel like that's what they need to eat the bait. And you can read that fish on your live and say, okay, how's he, reacting? You saw Robert Gee on live. I mean, he was just so barely reeling that bait over that fish. And it took, a minute or longer before that fish actually committed and got it.
It's so interesting. We filmed a tutorial with Brian Schmidt and using the Spunk Shad, and he would vary his retrieves between basically that ultra slow, do nothing retrieve, and then the shake method where you're trying to make it dance a little bit more. That tail, those tails are so sensitive that slow retrieve, man, that's a trigger.
It's deadly. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's similar to, a really cool catch that I always think about is when Ike bit that Senko down to literally just nothing and threw it out there and got that fish to bite. Because your bait everyone, especially new people in fishing, everyone thinks, oh, the action, like I need a ton of crazy vibration and action. When in reality, a lot of the times it's you don't need any action. You don't want anything. And so it's the same thing with that same concept with reeling it and having almost no action and making a Senko this big. So all it does is just basically sit on the bottom or fall perfectly, without any crazy movement.
Now, what do you know about the one I got a big gripe with Koyo, and I don't know if I'm saying it right, but man, he's hiding his baits. He's hiding it from the camera. He puts the cover over his screen so we can't see what he's doing. Come on, man, step it up.
I know.
But I heard the guys talk about the bait that he uses. It's kind of, it's not common knowledge, but the guys in the know what the baits are that he's using. Do you know what bait he's using?
Yeah, I think he's using 2 or 3. I think he's using a depth. He's using a jackal bait. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's it's so hard to get that it's sort of like, what it looked like was the fry there, the jackal drift fry, I want to say. I think that's what it is. Then the Sakamata shad. I mean, it's all just minnow baits.
Yep. The Sakamata shad, that rings a bell. That's what I thought I heard them say. But
yeah.
And you know what else was interesting that he did, and I want to know what you're doing, is they've kind of zeroed in that he's using a 16-pound test leader and about a 2 foot in length, like a really, really short leader. Is that how you?
He jacks his fish. Like,
yes, he does.
Spinning reel. He's like, yeah, no, I use 12-pound Sunline, as a leader and their braid, the 15-pound braid. I don't feel like I need to jack them so hard. A lot of the times I'm just, and then I just slowly reel into it, right? Maybe his scenario is different. I guess if it works, that's not a bad way to land that fish. The only issue I have with it is if that 16-pound would deter the fish from biting, and or the hook that he's using, I would worry about bending it out in certain scenarios. Like, maybe he's using such a stout hook that it doesn't matter, but the hooks that I'm using, I still have to play that fish a little bit. Like, I caught a 6.5 pounder on day one. I mean, and this is actually a really cool catch, Pete. Like, I was shaking the Damiki, shaking it, and I got caught up in the top of a tree, like that it was this far underneath the water. And I went, oh no, because I knew the fish was behind it. Mm-hmm. And I was caught in it, and I started a trolling motor over to get it out, and all of a sudden the fish ate it right off the top of the tree. Yes. 6.5 pounder. It was super cool. That was really neat.
Oh man, that happens so infrequent. That's so cool that happened. What we didn't see, and I thought we would see, is a disaster in the timber. Like, oh my gosh, like you can see the timber all over. Did you get hung up in it at all ever as you were fishing?
Honestly, no. It's weird, like, especially on live scope, like, you can see so much timber, but a lot of timber is really small. So, it is weird. I can't even describe it. I never once got hung up. So I don't know how that's possible, but it must have to do with, a lot of times these fish are jumping, and then, they didn't really fight as hard as I had thought they would. So that might have been it. Like, once you got them and they did that initial jump and they digged a little bit under the boat, you were grabbing them. I think if you were fishing in that timber with smallmouth, it was over, absolutely over.
Have you noticed the difference between how fish fight, like the ones that are, that you're catching out there in suspended water, or, like forward-facing sonar fishing? Do those fish fight, harder or less than, say, a fish where you set the hook on a fish that's sitting on a piece of timber on the bank, like on a laydown, and you hit that fish on a jig? Like,
yeah.
Are they just as angry, or are they kind of more mellow because they are out there in the middle of the lake and they are essentially, they're dealing with some level of current all the time?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point that I haven't really thought about. Based on Toledo, I would say that the fish out there they fought less than I think. Like, if you pitched a jig into a laydown and caught a 5 pounder, that fish is gonna, you're gonna be like, I mean, you saw, like, here, that, what was it? Was it Brandon Carr? No.
Yeah.
Caught that 11. Yeah, like, that thing is like, and I feel like if I were to catch like an 8, 9, 10 pounder offshore on a jig, that I see, I feel like it's a little bit more taken off guard. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like offshore fishing in general, forget live scope, those fish are fighting a little less hard than like one that's up on the bank and you jack it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's just,
yeah. I hear you. It's just it was interesting when you said that they that you didn't have any fish get caught up in the timber. My head went two places. It went to my head went to two places. It went to that, okay, are the fish not fighting as hard, or is the timber at Toledo getting to be to the age where it just isn't, it's become a non-factor? Like when you get caught up in those branches, they just break off. Like, are they starting to decay to the point that, that they don't tear you up as much?
Yeah, no, I mean, that is interesting. I don't know the answer, but I think I'll have to, now that you say that, I'll have to like really hone in on, like, if I catch one Demeking out here, if it bites.
Yeah. You have to drop the AquaView down on those trees and see what the status of those branches are. That'll tell you, are they all rounded off? Is that why we're not hanging up in them these days?
That actually could be it. A lot of it is dead straight, standing straight up. They don't have a ton of, branches coming off them, right? So when you set the hook, a lot of the times, like, it's the way that you're fighting it, it's not really conducive to get hung up unless there was something sideways or, at an angle, as opposed to like straight up and down.
Right.
How comfortable did you get running the boat lanes on Toledo? Was that a learning curve for you at first, or?
Yeah, I mean, after the Open there, I kind of knew where I could run. Here, this is sketchier. I promise you that.
Yes.
There is a lot of dangerous timber out here, like, without a doubt.
I know when we were talking to you before the show, it looked like you hit a stump and almost fell in,
Yep. Yeah.
Fork is treacherous.
It is treacherous, man. It's pretty dangerous. You got to be careful where you run here, without a doubt.
What I want to ask you this, but back to Toledo for one question there is the suspended fish. Like, I noticed some of the guys did find some fish on the bottom, but most of the footage that we were watching on live was fish that were suspended above the bait or very, very high in the water column. And what's the strategy there? Are those fish just the ones you want to target? Are the easiest to see and catch? What's the deal there?
For me, easier to catch. Way easier to catch. When they're high in the water column, I feel like they're more on the hunt. When they're low in the water column, I feel like they're moving. They're more moving and less easy to catch. Now, that's what was so unique, in my opinion, about Kiyoya. I think he was targeting the ones on the bottom, like hugging the bottom, and he's so good at seeing those fish that are hugged on the bottom.
Right.
That was his advantage. And from what I noticed, the ones that were suspended a lot of times weren't the 6+ class. The 6+ class were a little bit lower, like, if you were over 60 feet of water, they were down 20, 30, 40, super deep.
Yeah, I got you. That's fascinating, man. What a great response to that. And it's interesting. I want to give myself a shout out. I picked you on my fantasy team, and I really appreciate you crushing them last week.
Yeah, no problem. It's funny. Yeah, I actually, in practice, because it was so spotty, right? Like, I was cruising. I told my buddy, I'm like, dude, don't pick me. So I kind of feel bad that I told him not to pick me and then caught him.
Well, I tell you, the reason why I picked you and is because when we interviewed you on Bass Live, we talked about how you practiced for your events and how you were working. You didn't have a massive amount of hours on these bodies of water, and that resonated with me. I'm like, he's going to be okay with a short practice. I don't know if everybody's going to be okay with it, and and I saw you in that bucket. I'm like, nah. He's got, the mental edge I felt like you had, and the ability to find fish in a short period of time was something really cool. And of course, the forward facing stuff. So anyway, well done.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. Appreciate it. I hope I can keep it up.
Well, we look forward to it, and people don't know. We're excited to have you on. a lot as we go through the year. We want to follow your rookie season, man. We're really excited to have you as a regular part of Bass University this year.
Yeah. Really excited to be here and try to help people catch more fish and maybe, teach them a little bit about, forward facing and that it's not the devil.
I love it. It is not the devil. Just everybody listening at home, are we picking you on this week's fantasy team?
I'm not going to say no, but I may not catch him. But so far, I like Fork.
That's awesome. What's your prediction on a winning weight on Lake Fork this week?
116 pounds.
Holy smokes.
Golly.
I've been pretty accurate with my weights. Everyone was blowing up Toledo saying there'd be 4 bags over 100. I said 97 would. Wow. 97? It was something. I never said the Century Club would have been broken. Now, looking back on it, right, it was broken, but barely. So it wasn't as good as everyone was talking about it being. You know what I mean? So I do truly feel like there will be 3 people to break the century belt on this lake. Wow.
That's bold prediction, man. It's a storied reservoir, right? It has more sharelunker, in the sharelunkers in the top 10 or top 20 all time have come out of Fork. So it's I'm excited about it. Can't wait to see the show. And man, I feel guilty for keeping you this long, Kyle, because I know you're practicing out there, and I want to let you get back to it. But man, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us and giving us some tremendous insight on forward facing in Toledo Bend.
Of course, guys. It's awesome. It's always great to be on Bass U. I love it.
Keep the wrenches away from me, please. And,
okay, I'll try.
All right. Good luck this week, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you guys.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
What a deal, man. What's great insight. I mean, as much as we learned watching the live, I feel like I'm even more dialed now after talking with Kyle and, the insight on the baits and how suspended fish versus bottom fish, Koyo being skilled at identifying fish off the bottom as one of the, key little subtle extra pieces, that's good stuff. Well, let's take a quick commercial break, guys. We're going to give away some prizes. Like and share the feed over on social. I know JH is working on a trivia question, which we're going to roll out here real soon, as soon as we get back from the commercial. So we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to Minnow King. How can I help you?
Everything looks good. I'm friggin' starving, man. Been spawning all morning.
Ugh, TMI, bro. What do you want?
I'll take a Crush City freeloader and gizzard shad.
Anything to drink?
Water.
Pull ahead, please. Welcome to Minnow King.
We're gonna have what he's had.
Yeah, throw me in a net BLT, too.
Pull ahead, please.
Calm down. Quit feeding so much.
Oh, yeah, man, I'm trying to, man.
If you overfeed him, he's going to hide under a log.
Right here, Aquaview, mandatory equipment in my boat. I say it all the time. The smallmouths hide in the cracks in the rocks. And just saw a little bit of the same kind of rock with the cracks in it. And I realized that I had to put a bait down there. You wouldn't, idle over them and see them on your screen. You had to put a bait down there and suck them out of the rock. So, Aquaview, big assist on this one.
And outdoors, Bassmaster Classic champion, Jeff.
Why do you love catching fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick, every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water, not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Well, man, I see a question here, Jeffrey. What a great question, and we didn't get to ask it to Kyle, and I want to ask it to our next forward-facing specialist. But it's not common knowledge, but people struggle to use this in the wind, like when the transducers are bobbing up and down in the waves, and the readouts you get, even if your transducers are able to stay wet, you're getting some distortion there. What are some keys to being successful with forward facing in the wind? We're going to get to that. We're going to get an expert better than us, Jeffrey, to answer that question. But I know one of the keys is keeping your transducers low and trying to keep that prop in the water as best you can. And I do see I saw this repeatedly on Toledo Bend where guys were digging for protected areas, where the waves were less. Even though it might not have been their best area, they could use their live scope more effectively in the calmer conditions. So great question, though. Appreciate that one. And so we got a lot going on, Riz. Man, we're traveling around. Bass University is rocking and rolling, and we are, speaking of forward-facing sonar, we have a monster release coming this week.
We sure do, Pete. We are releasing on Thursday Ben Milliken's forward-facing sonar techniques for catching the biggest bass in your lake. This is a can't miss that you're definitely going to want to tune into. It's an absolute masterclass on forward-facing sonar fishing and targeting really, really big fish and everything in between. That's coming out on Thursday. Set your calendar, set your timer, set whatever you need to set. You don't want to miss that when you're going to get notifications from us about that. So definitely check that out. Ben went out and, lit it up. There's no other way to describe it, but just
he crushed
it up for a rookie first Elite Series event. He, had a top 5 finish. So no better time. Let's get Ben Milliken forward-facing sonar techniques out there. And then also this week in the On the Water world, we are releasing none other than Pete the Dean Gluzak. How about it? And
who's that guy?
We're taking a step into the not back, but we're taking a step into the basics again and going over some of the fundamentals, some of the things you need to know for bass fishing that honestly it gets overlooked. It really and truly does. I mean, I think we can all agree that we've gotten in the boat with somebody before and you say, "Hey, where's your scissors?" And they say, I don't know. I just got pliers. Well, that's a problem. If those pliers don't have the right kind of cutters and you need to cut 50-pound braid because you want to change the color of your frog, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or if you get in somebody's boat and they don't have the right kind of pliers and you have a fish that has treble hooks way down in the goozle. Again, that's not going to be a good situation. So this week in the On the Water category, Pete is releasing the tools that you need to get out and have a day on the water, whether that's fishing from a boat, fishing from the bank. It's the 5 tools that you need to have to make sure that you're equipped for a day on the water. And they go from scissors to multiple kinds of pliers to cutters to a few others in between. So check that out. That's going to be released on Wednesday this week. We got all kinds of stuff coming your way.
By the way, most of the tools that I talk about are you guys that are members of the Rapala VIP program. Go check it out because there's no doubt Rapala makes the best scissors that are available. And, you need to go get them because they're such a powerful little tool, and it makes a day on the water just so much easier. And you can take advantage of your VIP discount. So go check that out. I see Dan Allen's coming down to Lake Fork. You better come by and see us at the Bass U booth, Dan. I hope we see you there. And all you guys, anybody that's going to be in the Lake Fork area, Justin and Rich are going to be there for Bass University. We've got some really cool stuff going on at Bass University on site. So make sure you come by and see the guys under the Bass University tent. If we can get them there, I'm not sure we can with the draw of Lake Fork and Giant Bass right there next to them. I'm hoping I can get you guys to show up to work.
No, I'm watching John Cox run around our creek right now and all these other guys, and I'm like, man, come on.
That's awesome. But, it is so amazing. And John Cox, they were I was watching on live, and of course, and I watched the Chris Zaldane piece that he did all on the forward-facing sonar and how guys are rigged. And John Cox is the only guy without a forward-facing unit on his boat fishing the elites, which was not so surprising, but still is. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta feel like even if I was going to go dirt shallow, I'd still probably have that technology available to me if I needed it, But we also saw, I was watching Zaldane. You guys got to go check his YouTube out on it, where he goes through all the elite guys' boats and who has the most forward-facing technology on there. And I didn't get to see it all. I saw most of it. And when I got done watching, our own Brian Schmidt he had the most transducers and the most units. 4 12-inch units on its console. I mean, that's crazy amount of technology,
All in.
How about you, Justin? Now, a little intimidating. You haven't got your boat yet. How are you going to plan for $50,000 worth of sonar?
I'm not. That video made me depressed. I don't even want to talk about it. To be honest with you.
It is. I want to tell people that are getting involved in this, man. Most of the guys that I've talked to at our elites this year are just using one transducer. They're experimenting with some back at the stern, but they've all cut their teeth with just one transducer on the trolling motor, keeping it simple. Focusing on just being able to identify the fish, make them bite. All the other stuff, they're kind of writing off. But I don't know. I kind of like that simplistic approach myself. That's one of the things about having so much technology is you have so much room for error. If something breaks down, you know what I mean? Your wiring harness can get corrupted, interference problems. There's so much that you that you have to contend with when you're doing so much. And now you've got the new screens like those big giant. What's the brand? The NBT. Amazing screens that cut down on sun glare and have better resolution, and they're big giant screens. You've got to become an electrician expert, I think, to be successful out on the water with all that stuff. Justin, keep it simple. Get yourself one unit, one transducer. You're good. That's all you need.
Yep. Well, let's the trivia question. I'm going to put in the Bass University chat right now. So that'll be in there, and we'll hit our like and share winner real quick. Kevin Lamons, I believe that's Lammons. Kevin, you win, like and share. So send an email to the dean's office at thebassuniversity.com. And for both of these, we're giving away a TH Marine prize pack. So pretty cool stuff.
Awesome stuff. Is the question out there yet?
Yep, it's out there.
What's the question?
It was, what was the name of the creek on Toledo where Kyle caught his fish?
Oh, man. I even knew the answer to that question.
Well, okay. I guess, Rich, are you looking at it? I always let you make the final call on who wins. So nobody gets.
I got it as Mr. Higgs coming in first.
Mr. Higgs. All right, cool.
Mr. Higgs. Awesome. Congratulations.
Housen.
I think I had it right. It was Housen, right?
Yep.
Housen and 6 Mile, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some of the things we talked about on the show, guys. Make sure to take advantage of it. Rapala VIP program. We talked about missile baits. Kyle was using 30% off missile baits. AquaView, 30% off on AquaView. Go check that out. Use your discounts there. And want to invite you guys to go check out Cortland braided line. I mean, I am thrilled with its functionality on spinning gear. It's 10 and 15 pound test, high vis. I promise you, it's really game changing line. I love it a lot. I think you guys are going to love it too. So go check it out from Cortland Line, one of the oldest and most effective line companies on the planet. Been making lines for almost 100 years, maybe more. But anyway, guys, look for us next week on a Bass University Live. We'll be recouping what happened at Lake Fork. I want to thank Kyle Patrick so much for taking some time to practice and coming on the live show. And it's going to be a great week, another great week of live. I also want to give I already talked about Jacob Wheeler winning on Crush City, the freeloader, but congratulations to Jacob Wheeler for winning again. Just incredible. Did you guys have a chance to dial in on any of that? It was cool because it was a shallow water cypress tree kind of tournament, and Jacob Wheeler went offshore with this guy right here and won the tournament fishing I think mainly brush piles with the freeloader, and on an incredibly stingy Santee Cooper. I mean, I think it took like 14 pounds or something was the high weight on the final day there, something like that. It was incredibly stingy.
Wow.
But cool stuff.
That bait's cashing checks, that's for sure. It's crazy.
And how about what you were going to say, Justin?
I was just saying it's crazy how, I mean, that bait essentially has 3 pro-level wins already between Connell, Wheeler, and Wheeler won with that before it was released on Guntersville. So
I know I'm promoting it and bragging about it, but I don't think you can get it right now.
No. The word is that they might not be available for a long time after that win there.
Well, I will say this: they are pushing their factories and trying to get them, back on the shelves for everybody. How about the David Dudley catch, Justin?
Awesome. The Dudster, man.
How
about it? He called his shot on that stump. That's what I like to see right there. That was awesome stuff from Dudley.
If you guys didn't see that, you got to go over and check out the MLF. There's going to be a rebroad or a clip of that somewhere. But Dudley's giant fish, it was a 9-pounder, and he called his shot. He had just a few minutes left, and busted a 9-pounder and got himself in the cut.
And the emotion, I feel like we don't see that emotion anymore on fish catches when when guys are already seeing the fish with forward facing, they know it's got to come. And that's one of the things I miss the most. Dudley right there, he called his shot, but the emotion that ran through him there that's what it's all about.
That's an interesting perspective because you're right. Like a lot of the times you see the blob and you can tell by the size of it as you train your eyes. You like, I know this is a good one. So what to expect, but it's a little bit more shocking when you don't know. That was a great catch. That was awesome, but it was still awesome watching them guys. I mean, my gosh, jacking those 8-pounders off of forward facing, and seeing those giant bags come in, man, it was spectacular. And it was crazy how this tournament wound up. That was Pat Schlopper, right? Or who was he had a 6-pound lead going in to the event. And, this is another, flies in the face of what people think, right? It's so easy. You just go out there and do it, and everybody can do it, but it's not. It's super challenging. And as evidenced by the fact that Koyo was able to come from a 6-pound deficit and win that Derby. Patrick Walters, oh my gosh, 230.
Koyo only got like 7 bites on the final day.
Is that true?
Yeah, he didn't have his limit until, what was it, Justin? Probably noon, 1 o'clock.
Afternoon, yeah.
He sat on 4 for 19 for quite some time. He caught his 5th, which was a 6-pounder, got to 25, and then caught maybe 2 more after that, but they were both bigs. They were like a 6 and 7.
That's interesting that you say that, because I noticed an important observation on day 3 when he didn't catch them, and he did not abandon his strategy in any way, shape, or form, and he kept at it. You saw other guys, go through 2 hours without a bite, 3 hours without a bite, start making adjustments on the bank. We saw a few guys get up shallow, start sight fishing, looking around, trying to make something happen. But he didn't. He grinded and wound up catching a 6-pounder late in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Stuck with his guns. Got enough weight to keep him within striking distance.
Yep.
And I wonder, I'd love to interview him sometime about that, because once he made the cut, it seemed like you said, he just only got 7 bites. So my question would be, you're only throwing at the giants, you're putting, in order to win, you just got to spend your time around the giant. I don't know. I'd like to hear the answer to that question.
I don't know, but yeah, it's man, that would be, I don't know. That's an interesting observation, Petey. Maybe that's all he's doing. He's not throwing at fish that he knows are under, 3 pounds, 4 pounds. That would be, that would show a lot of confidence in his abilities to be able to pick those bigger ones off and all that. Well, one thing you were talking about his baits earlier, Pete, and Bassmaster did post a picture of his baits, and one of his Damiki baits has a little bill on it, and it's pretty interesting.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah, we'll have Rich pull it up. It's a regular Damiki rig with a little, freeloader type bait, but that soft plastic has a built-in little soft plastic bill on it. It's there it is.
Look at that little sucker. Huh.
Mm-hmm. What does that do? I wonder.
I think looking at it and, not ever throwing it, is when you get that bait down to depth, when you move your rod, a standard bait is going to have a tendency to rise. And with a bill like that, it's going to help you, keep it straight, keep it down for maybe just a moment longer, a few seconds longer. Keep it in that fish's grill. I'm guessing. I don't think that bill is designed for action. My guess would be it's designed to keep it in the fish's strike zone for longer.
Yeah, you might be right on that.
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, and he's got something figured out, man. I mean, he's, heavier line, all that. Another thing to think about with that heavier line, he might not even be using that for just straight, strength from his line. He might be using it for, rate of fall to,
I think
that type of thing.
I think you, once again, we're talking about ability to hover, right? So the longer your fluorocarbon leader, right?
Oh, we lost.
Well, we lost
Pete.
But we got him right back.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep. You're good.
Yeah, I'm thinking because I noticed this with a long fluoro leader, a lengthy fluoro leader when I'm smallmouth fishing. I like it because it keeps the bait down. And now in this instance, you want to suspend the bait for longer. So he's using a very short leader and a lot of braid which floats. So he's adding buoyancy, a lot more buoyancy, a lot less draw, sinking capabilities on that. Obviously there's a lot of science to it, and he's at the cutting edge of all this stuff right now. Coming off this win, 2 elite wins in a row. One of the things, or in back-to-back years, one of the things that I noticed that he missed a couple really big, looked like big ones, and we haven't seen that from him. But he on his hook set, he had a few, like, I don't know if they were breakoffs. They looked like they pulled off, or just somehow became unpinned. But we saw a couple losses. That's the interesting thing about this technique and its rigging is you don't see a lot of lost fish. I mean, it doesn't happen that much. Everything kind of stays pretty pinned with that, little bitty plastic and an exposed hook. Your strike to catch is pretty high.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Mr. Higgs. I want to give a little shout out, Mr. Higgs, Tuck, Diehard Anglers, Kevin, Dan Allen, of course, Howie. What's up, Howie? Always good to have you with us, and everybody else watching the show today, man. I see Blake and Bailey D, and Rich Hunt. Great to have you guys. Great questions, great input for the show. We're looking forward to next week. We're going to see you guys again. What are you guys coming home on Monday?
Monday night we'll be home.
Okay. Are you gonna fish Monday morning?
No, I mean, I think we just have a full day of airline travel. We got to leave Monday morning, but we have a layover.
I got you. You guys got to start planning a day to fish these classic bodies of water before you come home.
Yeah. Well, we were kicking it around, but it's going to be blowing 25 to 30 tomorrow. So we didn't talk about that much on this podcast for this upcoming event. There's a major weather change happening as we speak, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, it was 87 degrees yesterday when the sun was at its highest, and it was the warmest in the afternoon. Tomorrow, the high is 57.
Wow.
So just to put things in perspective, there's definitely going to be some stuff moving around and shaking around. Interesting to see how it unfolds.
The wind's blowing out here, that's for sure. It's starting to pick up, and a lot of that's why I've been muting my mic and everything. But before we roll out of here, let's hit the sub of the week that we got here. And shout out to Stefan Sorochman, he's always rocking the cashew hat. Shout out to Stefan.
Good shout out to Red Point.
Yep.
Red Point guy right there. Let's go.
That's right.
Looking good, man. That looks like a picture from last year.
Yeah, it is. Nobody wants to send me any pictures apparently, so the sub of the week might just end up being me for the rest of the year. All pictures of me wearing Bashu hat.
I couldn't send you. There was the new share lunker, so I'm going to send you that image. So you can put it up on social.
Yeah. Well, Pete, I don't know if you saw this, but so we all know we were at Lake Athens for our seminars there, packed house. We tried to get out on Athens for the Bashu meetup. Weather, said screw you guys. But a week or two after, somebody called a 13-pounder on Athens.
They sure did.
Did you see that it got revoked?
No.
Yeah, the guy's fishing license expired like 2 days before he caught that fish, and they took away his share lunker.
Brutal.
Yeah. Tom Lang said, no, sir.
Wow.
That's a shame. It's a shame that, accidents like that happen. You know what I mean? But good on that guy for owning up to it. And I'm sure he's got his fishing license and he's going to go catch another.
Man, that's a bummer. What a weird outcome to that.
I thought I'd give you the update on that.
I was a little upset that fish was caught, after we all tried to fish out there and, we were unsuccessful at getting anything over 3 pounds, but but it's encouraging for next year that there's 13 pounders living out in Lake Athens. So we got to go get it done. Right. Mr. Higgs wants to know where to send the pictures, Justin.
Send any of your fish catch pictures. If you're rocking a BU hat or a shirt, send them on direct message, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. I'll see it, and it'll be the next sub of the week.
Sub of the week. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys putting the show on the road, and want to thank Kyle Patrick. What an awesome guest he was, and appreciate him calling in during his practice round. And we'll be rooting for him this week out on Lake Fork, looking for 100. He's calling 115 pounds. Unreal. I think it's the place it could happen. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next week here on Bass University Live.
Welcome to Minnow.